if a nut fell off that or not. Really old pack of Camel cigarettes. Rock. There's the bolt I'm looking for. I knew there was one in there. Sweep all that up later. All right. Main things, I've got to get the exhaust manifold off. There's a little exhaust clamp right here. I sprayed it with some penetrating oil. I'm hoping the clamp doesn't break, but if it does, it does. I don't have any other option. Alright, clamp's loose. I'm gonna guess too big. I'm gonna guess 17 millimeter. Too big. Fifteens. Too much for that. will say I do like this 24 volt. This is just the 650 foot-pound Cobalt Max, but it does a good job. And the part I'm worried about is that the muffler is probably rusted to the exhaust manifold. A little hammer. Show you guys what I'm working on in here. So the 2 bolts are right down in there, looking up from back of the pump. So that's the main thing that holds it on, in the little small clamp there. So right now I'm just tapping on this, trying to loosen it up. Twist and pull, twist and pull. There we go. Pain in the butt. Previous owner didn't do me any favors in that he welded this chrome tip on. Should have been screw on, but it's welded on the backside. Gotta love it. Always something working on equipment. Never fails to amaze me what people will do. Let's see. Take the throttle cable loose. There we go. Muffler is out. So here's what I'm working with. And here's what I found it by pulling around on the pump. Pump is loose. Should not be loose. It's a bad thing for a hydraulic pump. So I'm going to try to take this inner bolt here out, back everything off, and see if I can extract the bolt that's in there. So I didn't bring my headpiece to be able to wear, you guys. See if I can't set you guys up in here for right now. And if you're wondering, yes, I run a my lamp there is from like the 1980s probably. Yeah, I'm cheap, it happens. So I'm hoping I can pull this pump out enough and drop it down and allow me to work on stuff without having to drain the tank. At least for right now. So we're going to work towards. I tried to get in here and tighten this from the bottom, see if I could at least tighten it up. When I was running around doing the pressure testing, it was almost impossible. Looks like my engine oil pressure sensor might be weeping a little bit. This thing's really long-winded. And I don't know if this has been this way since I bought it or not. Bingo. Towels. Clean off the hands real quick. All right. So that's what the back of it looks like. You can see the bolt is snapped off. Looks like my definitely probably getting a little weeping out of that engine oil pressure sensor right there, but it reads fine, but I might try to fix that. So for this bolt extraction, I am going to try and weld a nut onto that thing. So I'll get the welder fired up and bring you guys back. All right, I didn't get the welding on camera, but I just welded her up. I'll basically just use a pair of vice grips, hold it right there and pour the weld into it. And I set up like this so that my welder could be right here, little Hobart. I'm gonna turn it off and hope for the best. I'm gonna let it cool and hope that it pops free, and I will let that be on video. 1/2 inch, just use a little 1/2 inch nut, 1/2 inch shouldered Ooh. Not too bad. And look, I find this method is way easier than drilling and tapping. Especially in a tight area like this where the pump would actually, you can see the pump is actually in, the top of the pump is in line with what I would be having to drill and tap, so it's definitely be sort of in the way. And that was actually first try too. I am not going to touch that thing because I know it is hot. Needle nose. Gotta keep my hands out of the way. Kind of long. They definitely go in there a good ways. Oh, been summoned. Call that guy back in a second. Bingo. There we go. Easy. Get a new bolt put in. Alright guys, so the issue at hand is I've got this bolt here. It's a grade 8, 3/8. I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing. Oh, it's a 3/8. It fits nice. I think I can cut the head off of it and turn it into a stud because I definitely can't get it in from this end. And then it does bottom out in the housing here. So I'm thinking of doing the same thing over here. I can't get this bolt out of the pump. It is shoved back into this fitting, or this suction hose right here. So I'm thinking I will take a grinder and a cutoff wheel and cut that bolt off. Thread 2 in there with the heads cut off, make them studs, and then just put nuts to hold the pump on. And if it ever loosens up, I can get in here and tighten it back up. All I have to do is pop this cover. I might not even have to pop the muffler. Maybe I could get in there with an end wrench probably if I had the head of a bolt to get onto. I use the channel lock because that's a round headed Allen, so you definitely can't get an Allen down in between this hose and the head of that bolt. So I don't know if that's original or not. I would hope not. That just seems incredibly dumb from a serviceability aspect, but you never know. I wouldn't rule it out. So I also need to tighten some of these up. I think this one's loose as well. But before I put it together, I'll go through all the connections that I can access in here and make sure everything's good and tight. So running low on battery. I don't know that I'll get to show all this, but we'll see. All right, guys, the torch didn't work, or the cutoff wheel was too big on the grinder to fit in here. So I've got a Sawzall blade. It's called the Milwaukee torch. So it seems to be working. So I'm going to get this thing cut. I've got a vice grip holding the bolt through the other side of the pump here. Double check just to make sure you know what you're cutting. Oh yeah. That bolt must be pretty soft, because this thing is making a short work of it. cut her off. Now, I might have to go to the store tomorrow and buy some more bolts. I just need to double check here. I've got this one that's too long, but I'm seeing if the threads are the same length. They're not quite. But I could probably cut this one off right there and thread it in and still have enough for the pump. Still have a long enough stud. So. It would be close, no doubt. I think first I'm going to cut down my long one. And we'll go from there. Does everybody need a Bridgeport? No, but it is so nice to have one. I actually have it set up that I'll probably cut that flat enough. I'll probably take it over the grinder and grind a chamfer around it. If I did need to shorten it, I would take these nuts, tighten them up, clamp it standing straight up like this. I actually already did this. You just clamp it up, make a pass with the cutter, and you can set it in at a set height. So. All right, guys, put a little heater hose on here just to protect. This line had a pretty good cut in it where it rests back. It doesn't look like it's made a witness mark on that, but when I pull the console up, you can see it has a hard rub. So I just cut some heater hose, stuff I had laying around. I mentioned this needed to be done. So when you see this kind of little stuff, it's best to go ahead and fix it. I don't want to have to fish this line all the way down to that valve and replace it. So I'll go ahead and get this console cover put back on, get the armrest back on. That armrest actually hits back here. So it usually doesn't lay back too far. I don't like how this hose is set up, but there's not much I can do about it right now. So that might be a repair that just waits for a later time. So the heater hose will get me limping by for right now. So. All right, guys, we got the bolt in the housing, the stud, the cutoff bolt. I do need to go to town in the morning and get another one for the other side. I don't have one that's exactly that length. The one I've got has got more of a shoulder on it, so doesn't have quite as much thread as that one. So this will make getting the pump on and off easier, and if it ever loosens up, I can definitely tighten it back up again a lot easier. So I don't know why the factory didn't do this, but hey, live and learn. I did notice that the pump has got a leak out of the face seal. I can get you guys down there to see it. So you see a line coming down there. I kind of figured that. I knew that there was a bunch of oil down there. There has been. It does drip on the track as you're operating it. There was a big a fitting under here, right under this console, big fitting that was leaking pretty bad. And I do have that oil sensor there leaking a little bit, weeping. I would call those weeps. They don't pour, they just weep a little bit over time. So I probably won't address it right now. Just don't have time for it. I need to get this thing up and running. I got a little job I got to do with it. So this hopefully will last me until I get to this coming winter and work on it. The pump shaft, there's no play in the pump shaft, in or out, side to side, up and down. The pump shaft is very good. So I think the bearings in the pump are good. I'm sure with that bolt broke, that pump wobbling around, it was hard on that bearing, probably hard on that seal, but it doesn't look like it's been damaged. I think we're probably just, it's a 4,800 hour machine. A lot of revolutions on that seal. So the seal's probably just wore out. It shouldn't be too big of a deal to pop the 4 bolts that hold this pump together. Once you drain the fluid, pull the hoses off, pop the 4 bolts, pull that face cover off, hopefully, put a new seal in it, put the face cover back on, button it back up. So hopefully I can get through this this season. If I have a big hydraulic leak or anything, it takes it down. Depending on where it's at, I might just go ahead and drain it and pull the pump at that point and redo the pump then, but we'll see. Hopefully I can get through the summer and not have any problems and get some time this coming winter to work on it. So that's where we're at. So I'm gonna wrap the video for now and maybe completely. So we'll see how it goes. Hope you guys enjoy. Pumping the camera. So I know you guys are hitting something. All right, getting kind of tight now. The pump's pulling up nice like it should. And I do think I will probably run this thing without this cover for a little while at least. Make sure I'm going the right way. Do it. That way, if this joint loosens up at all, I can come back and re-torque it. Not that this is properly torqued anyway. I don't have real good... The bolt didn't stick all the way through the nut like I want it to. So that's not a great sign, but... For now, I'm going to run it that way. I might go buy some different bolts and have them on hand just in case. You can kind of see, hopefully you guys can see that one right there. There's a couple threads of that nut still hanging out. And I loosened it there just to make sure that the bolt itself for the stud wasn't turning. Again, I went with grade 8 just to make sure. In case in a situation like that, and I've only got a couple threads, it's not going to be near as easy to pull threads on a grade 8. So... I mean, let's be honest, it's been running. Wow, that hose there is about rubbed through. That'd be a fun one. Dump the suction hose. I don't know why they wouldn't have secured this block to something that doesn't make much sense. But I got another video where I sort of ran on why I like these things, because they're simple and easy. Doesn't mean they're the best design thing in the world. They're just simple and easy to work on. So I'll get a piece of hose, put under that as well, and get that protected. And then I'm gonna button the exhaust back up and get her ready to run, put the floor back in, leave this cover off for right now. And yeah, that's how I'll leave her. For at least, I'll probably at least try to put a couple hours on it this way. Let everything shake around, shimmy, and see if she loosens up. I guess while we're sitting here, since I'm lucky and the injection solenoid usually doesn't kick in, and it didn't. So I turned the key on. You can see the solenoid still didn't kick over, so I'm gonna spin it over and make sure it's not hitting this coupler. Yep. Just making sure those studs didn't push in too far into that flywheel housing and start hitting on the coupler. So that sounds good. Doesn't sound like that's happening. So always good to double check things like that. In a slightly unrelated story, when I was building one of these engines, I had a cam position sensor stick in just a little bit too far and get wiped out. That's my real loose connection there. Get a little distance on it. Let's see if I got it. Inch and a quarter. Let's go inch and a quarter, see if that works. Too big. Go inch and an eighth. When you're working on equipment like this, it's hard to have something that's too big. It does take some pretty big stuff. We'll see if 7/8. Perfect. Actually, let's see. That seems to be about where that hose wants to ride. So we'll let her hang out there. While I'm in here, that one's loose too. Sort of check them all. So I work for a large manufacturer. These hydraulic fittings typically take some really high torques, so you don't usually have to worry too much about stripping one out. Although this one being an aluminum pump, I don't want to get too wild. All right, let's see here now. So if I can take you guys, look up from the bottom. I think we're okay. I'm a little bit leery of this clamp here, but I think it's okay. Let's see. I think somebody, and I'm hoping you can see this, this is the throttle linkage. They put it underneath this hose. It's rubbed a spot in that hose already. For the time being, I'm just going to clamp it there to keep it from rubbing. Well, I thought I was going to end this video. I did get everything back together. I do have a bit of a problem. Apparently that seal must not like the pump being torqued up, because it is leaking significantly worse now than it was. I don't know if you can see it hitting the pan, but it's a drip probably every 15-20 seconds. So I loosened one side of the pump up. Hopefully it'll sit here overnight and not drip as bad. So looks like I'll be doing the face seal on this pump sooner rather than later. But I'm gonna try to limp it through this next little job. It should just only take me probably a little 15-minute job. So for a buddy. So I'm gonna try to limp through that, and maybe we'll be doing a pump repair. So catch you guys later.